So there are some must-win battles. One, within those who want change, you must decide on your initial influencers. I say initial because life does not end today. Some people may be your influencers tomorrow. Some even bigger influencers may join you in 2 weeks' time or in 1 year's time. Leave the door ajar and welcome them. Don't tell them they are too late because you want to build a grand coalition. The bigger you are, the stronger you are, as long as they have the same shared vision. There's some things you must fight for. One, early issuance of voters cards. Already some youths approached me. Said they had my television, they want to get voters cards, but they were unable to. So you have to start that battle now to force INEC to make it possible for new 18-year-olds to register and anybody else that does not have the voters card should start today. It should be amongst the demands of today. It's INEC's job to do it. The other things you may ask for electronic reform. Everybody knows that the system dwells or thrives on sometimes on falsification of results, snatching ballot boxes. In the 21st century is unnecessary. People should be able to vote in a manner that there's no ballot box to destroy. So you need some electoral reform, meaningful one that will not negate all your fighting. Then embrace some other tactics. It's not true that the only way you bring about change is voting for yourself. There are some countries, including the UK recently, where people embrace tactical voting. Tactical voting means there's an election coming around the corner. You're not quite ready. There are two candidates, let's say APC and PDP. If all the youth get together and say, we're voting for candidate A, and candidate A wins, the whole country will take notice. Although you're not the candidate, tactically you have sent the signal that you determine who wins. That way, every candidate will be coming to you and begging you. And if you're together, you can point direction at the better candidate in terms of who he represents and who will correctly work towards readdressing that distorted dinner table I spoke of in the big picture. So at the end of the day, you want success. The way to achieve success is to achieve some quick wins, which can be through tactical voting initially, until you're strong enough to build candidates of your own who have a realistic chance of winning. I don't believe in taking part in the battle just to get slaughtered. Plan so that you can win, so you can bring about change through a combination of tactical voting and building realistic candidates. What other battle can you fight for? I'm among those who truly believe that the country will be better if we amend the constitution and allow the president a single term, 5 years or 4 years, so that all this, whoever gets elected knows that the clocks are taken from day one. If you want to waste it, digitally do so. There's no second term for you. And I say it at the presidential level, because if you try and demand it everywhere, you may not get it, because governors are self-interested. So they may not go for it. But because they are ambitious, some of them want to be president. So they may support you in a single term to be president. Then everybody who becomes like leader's president, from the day you are sworn in, the clock is ticking. And you start delivering. And we measure you by how you alter that embarrassing big picture that sends Nigerians into exile to go and look for the means of livelihood in distant countries. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been my contribution, trying to point you what I believe is the right direction, and it's my sincere hope that out of these deliberations, something very good and productive will come out. I thank you all for your attention. I admire your energy, I admire your organization. You make me feel proud and happy. I believe that this country will succeed with people thinking and behaving the way you have been doing. I thank you all and God bless you.
Is wherever you are, I don't know, just clap if you can, clap in the chat. This is absolutely amazing. Thank you very much, sir. I know we're not wrong when we said you come and help us with your wealth of knowledge. So many things stood out for me in what you said there. I think, first of all, it's very important that a lot of people who have been involved in this entire conversation and protests and movement understand. So there's been a narrative about, our parents' generation didn't do anything. And it's very important that you mentioned there that this fight for new Nigeria didn't just start today. There's been people who have been fighting and stopping and fighting and stopping and hitting resistance over the years. And it's good to see that you are still in the fight, even at this point with us. Also, I mean, the animation explanation you presented, I think, is so apt. Anybody who sees that completely understands what all these conversations are about and what Nigeria is currently going through. So thank you very much for that. Also, what I like that you mentioned is collaboration. You mentioned there that there's no latecomers to any movement or to any fight, and I think that's very important. There might be a tendency sometimes to exclude people who many people feel are not a part of the cause. People are also allowed to change their opinions over time, and I think it's very important that we realize that whenever you join the movement, it's okay, as long as you're a part at some point that you believe in the cause. And finally, of course, 2023 is on everybody's mind. Most people have said, this 2023 is too far. If only we had elections this year. If only the elections were sooner. With the energy that young people have now, it would have been more effective. But I'm sure the fight everybody has to keep up now is to sustain the energy. We're in a democracy, and elections will always be important. And the next elections, and this is not just about the presidency, it's across the board. There's a plethora of offices that are occupied by Nigerians, and everybody needs to pay more attention. Put pressure on INEC to do the right thing, not just at the election, but starting today, to make sure that the entire process is seen as flawless and works for Nigeria as a whole. We have a speaker now who's going to be coming up, a young man, a learned colleague of mine, my learned junior, let me just stop making it a bit, who has been a huge force since the protest started. And I think he was one of those who pushed a lot of Nigerians, because when what happened in Ogeli in Delta State happened, we talked about, we're going to protest, there are people who said, maybe we shouldn't, let's listen to the man. And I know that he, and I think Ron Towns, that quote was very, very poignant for me. Thursday is Thursday. And the Thursday after the shooting, after the incident happened in Ogeli, I beg your pardon, they came out, and I think that sort of supported a lot of people to do what they have done in the last couple of weeks. He's many things, so many things. He's a lawyer, he's a rapper, he's an activist. He's someone who's very, very passionate about Nigeria. If you know anything about him and his family, you know that they've been in this battle for a very, very long time. And he's going to be delivering our keynote address today. So please welcome Paul Polari.
What's up, everybody? My name is Polari Falano, aka Fal the Black Guy. For those that don't know, I'm an entertainer by profession. First of all, I think it's important to sort of commend everyone on an amazing job. I think what we've just seen, what we've just witnessed, is nothing short of history. We've basically just rewritten history. We've changed the way things operate on this side of the world, and I dare say things will never ever be the same again. I promise you, things will never be the same in Nigeria again. At the beginning, I mean, for me personally, on the 8th of October, that I decided to go out there and do the first ever walk. Big shout out to Runtown. I think he had put out a tweet like a few days before, and then I saw that, and this was what I saw as the avenue to come out and really protest about something that was affecting pretty much everyone. I think almost every young person has a story with SARS and the police in general, and it was about time. So we went out, we thought maybe 50 people would come out, maybe 100 people would come out. But on getting there, there were thousands of people behind us, and I think that was when I realized that we're onto something. I didn't even know how big this movement was eventually going to become. I had no idea what we had started, but at that point in time, I realized it was something bigger than us. After that day, every single day was a new city. Every single day, a new set of people, a new group of people that we didn't have to change to come out. And then these protests kept on going and going. And what I really, really realized was that there was a sense of unity, there was a sense of oneness that we built during these protests, and that is priceless. In my life, in my entire 30, I just turned 30, in my 30 years of existence, I have never seen in Nigeria as united as what the youth were during those protests. After all that happened, after all the protests and everything, I think the question on most people's mouths now is, what next? For me personally, I think it's work in progress. What we've started it has by no means ended in terms of what we have to do now. Where majority of the work lies, I would say, is in citizen education. So just educating people and letting people know that this is what the law is, these are your rights, this is what the Constitution says, and this is the procedure for this is the process for this. I think a lot of people, and that's one thing I realized during this period, because I was doing a lot of these videos where I'll just come and say, there's this law that is in existence, and did you know this, did you know that? And a lot of people, from the feedback I got, a lot of people didn't know majority of these things. And where I decided to commit my resources and my efforts is into making this into a full-fledged show. So basically, I'm going to make it into a proper show where I break down the law, I break down maybe parts of the Constitution that I think are very important for people to know in the most basic form. So anybody that doesn't know anything about law or or about legal procedure will just know that, wow, these are my rights. This is what I'm entitled to. Okay. Another group of people that I think really need that education is, I would say, the grassroots. I'm looking at this entire period and everything that went on, and the word hoodlum and thugs, those words were thrown around a lot, but who really is a hoodlum? A hoodlum is a young man just like yourself, just like myself. But what makes them a hoodlum is the fact that they probably don't know better, or they probably don't have the resources to exist and flourish without doing that thing that they're doing that makes them a hoodlum. So a hoodlum wasn't born a hoodlum or isn't destined to be. It's just because of where they found themselves. So I think this set of people need a lot more education. Just letting them know that, suppose they run this kind of people they run, like sort of letting them know, awakening their consciousness. So for them, it's more of a realization of what they have been doing wrong and how they can sort of improve on that. Also, I think it's very important as we're approaching 2023, before we even get there, from now, to start getting ready. Because 2023 is going to be a big year. It's going to be a big decisive year for us, for our future. So it's important now to start getting our PVCs. They should start registration. I don't know what it takes. I don't know what the procedure is normally, but I know, from practice, they usually start closer to the time. I don't think the law requires that they start late, but just it's them. But there's a lot that we still need to attack. I feel like a lot of people don't even know. For instance, the procedure for recalling a member of the House of Rep or a senator. These are things that we're entitled to do. I think as somebody that is a registered voter in a certain constituency, you have the right to recall a member of the House of Rep. So if somebody did a mess up, we can just ginger and tell ourselves, guys, this guy they mess up, maybe we come out from here. And at the end of the day, we've seen that the power, I saw this, I'm looking for this very strong quote, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So I think if there's anything that we've realized in these past few weeks is that. So we just need to be, a lot more together, just work closely with each other and just, realize that when we're together, it's more effective, all these religious sentiments, all these tribal sentiments that they've tried to bring in, we need to throw everything away. You know, I mean, I've never, like I said, I didn't think it was within us anyway. I didn't think any of us took all those sentiments serious. It was all tactics from these people trying to set us apart and trying to divide us. But like I was saying earlier on, the sense of unity that I saw during this period was mad. So we just need to sort of keep that up, keep that energy going. Don't stop. Stay alert, stay awake. Register now. And we need more intelligent people, please. I think we have seen in these past few days the caliber of people that we have in government. We have people that are very shallow. We have people that don't know what they're doing there. We have people that only planned to go there to steal money. So somebody can be commissioner or minister of works and they know nothing about those works that they're meant to be doing. So I think we've really seen that we need people that are more enlightened, people that are more exposed to be in government, and young people like us, so they truly connect with the youth population and they know what they're supposed to be doing, and people that understand what it means to be in public office. Not just people that think that they're there to be worshipped, people that know that they're there to serve us and not the other way around. Yeah, man, that's what I'll just say. I want to just keep it short, so let me not continue to ramble. But thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. I love you guys. God bless Nigeria. Peace out.
Yeah, God bless Nigeria indeed. Thank you very much, Falz, for that. If nothing else, we have to give you credit, first of all, at least for the energy you keep coming with. A lot of people have observed, and rightly so, that you have been advocating for NSAS is very important, is the focal point, but you have, brought in the conversation beyond just NSAS. Talking about, Nigerians knowing better and knowing their rights, knowing their constitution, knowing what to look for in governance, and knowing who to hold responsible for this. And it's very important it's coming from someone from the generation that is agitating for all of these things. So thank you very much for all of that. And keep the fire burning. We're looking forward to more of this from you, and we hope that young Nigerians who are listening, and Nigerians in general who are listening, are paying attention and not just listening. They're paying attention to all of the things that you are saying. Moving on now to our very first panel of discussion today, and it's one that is very important to a lot of people. When this protest started, people kept saying, what exactly do you want? You just want SARS to be disbanded, and when it's disbanded, then what? And there was this 5 for 5 hashtag that came around. A lot of people didn't understand if that's all we wanted. Some people didn't understand if all of the points there were valid. A lot of people who also agreed with the 5 points. Government said they had accepted it and were going to implement it, but we're not so sure what's going on there. And that's most first panel of conversation we'll be focusing on. I'm going to be inviting the moderator for this one to introduce the panelists and hopefully have a healthy conversation that will lead us somewhere after this. And please welcome our moderator, Tolu Aderubaluko.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining these very necessary conversations. And this is just the beginning of what many, many people believe is truly the change that Nigeria is seeking, particularly for its young people. So the panel I'm moderating today is looking at tracking 5 for 5. And 5 for 5 were the demands that the NSARS protesters put together in terms of what they wanted government to action on. And I have a few panelists who are joining me, so let me go ahead and do the introductions. I have Adam Ismail Ahmad. He is the founder of the African Development Project Initiative, and was also the first person to call for an NSARS protest in Kano. He is highly active in promoting and advocating for good governance and women's rights. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. I also have Great. I also have Aldu Bulama Bukrati. He's an analyst in the Extremist Policy Unit of the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, and there he focuses on violent extremist groups in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, he has studied extremist groups in Africa for over a decade and has written many papers commentaries, and even op-eds on their history, their ideology, and much more. Bulama, thank you so much for joining us. All right, moving on, we also have Chioma Chuka, who is joining us. She has her interests revolving around women, media, politics, and technology. Whether it is champion young, first-time women politicians, co-creating solutions for sexual and gender-based violence, or even creating sessions on digital security, Chioma believes that technology not applied is not useful. Chioma, thank you so much for joining us. And finally, we have Nelson Olanipekun. He's a lawyer and tech developer and also the founder and team leader of Gavel, which is a social enterprise that promotes increases in the justice delivery process through access to justice, technology, and citizens' engagement. Nelson, thank you so much for being with us. I'm not sure he's here. So we'll get started with the panelists that are here, quickly going over the 5 demands that we have. And the demands go like this: immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all victims of police brutality, and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up independent body to oversee investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct. Number 4, in line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining, which is to be confirmed by an independent body, of all disbanded SARS officers before their redeployment. And number 5, increase police salaries so they are adequately compensated for protecting Nigerian lives and property. So let me start with you, Chioma, in terms of what government has said. We had the Vice President come out, we've had the Inspector General of Police come out, we've had many government officials come out and say they acceded to the demands of the protesters and they've given the protesters what they want. So in terms of government actually giving in to the 5 for 5 demands, where do you think we stand?
I think we stand at a point where nothing has really happened. And it's very simple. If you look at some of the things that they said they've done, Governor Jide Sanwo-Olu posted a list of people who were facing prosecution in Lagos State. And we were going to rejoice. So someone shared a list from 2016 featuring quite a number of people on his 2020 list, right? When the, we have ended SARS thing was loud, we're going to rejoice. So people said, look, we have 2017, 2018, 2019 rendition of this same, we have ended SARS, just with different synonyms. So I think there's got to be a lot more that the government will do to get the trust of the people, beyond just saying we have said yes to your 5 for 5. For instance, there are very quick wins. There was a politician who shot a protester in Lagos. Where is that person, right? All of these instances, especially during the protest, we need to see some action. Some of the thugs in Abuja came out of police trucks. Who gave the keys? Like, is there no data within the police system that people don't know who has control of what truck or who has control of what car, and things like that? A good number of the protesters in Abuja have been linked to a senator, a serving senator. Where is the justice from there? It's not enough to just say we have done something if we're not seeing working, right? And I guess that's what young people and the country really, that's what people are asking for. The monies that have been extorted from people, is there a process by which their claims are verified, working with the bank? And then those monies are given back to the people, because we have a police service commission that's naturally supposed to cater to complaints. If we don't have these structures in place to respond to the 5 for 5, it's just like I tell you, Tolu, I want some water. You tell me, come, let's have a meeting. You're either giving me water, telling me here is a cup, you can get water from a dispenser, or you're not. And what the government is doing is telling us, come and talk. But you've seen our demands. You have responded to some of these demands on Twitter, right? So what else do you want people to meet with you for? Get to work, tell us what your plans are, tell us how you plan to meet our demands, and then, then let us know how we can monitor, which is why I'm really excited with what, Enough is Enough Nigeria and Yaga Africa are doing, which is, working with the 5 for 5, checking, okay, the judicial panels have been set up in so and so states, their X number of states, you haven't done this yet. Can you please get to work setting up those panels? I think the other thing we need to think about is, what is the power of these panels once the results have come out? Right? Because if we look at the police force, they're answerable to the center, not to the states themselves. And this is what Governor Wike of Rivers State was saying, that his government has produced a report before and it didn't go anywhere. So we need another set of people who will be following up with government and saying, PO, when these reports finally come out, what are you going to do with it? How do we prime government at all levels to be ready to receive these reports when they come out?
All right, Choma, thank you so much. So you raised a point that I also want to take up with Nelson, and that's where I'm heading to next. Nelson is the team lead for Gabo, and he's part of the team of lawyers that have worked across the country in terms of trying to get detained, arrested protesters out of police custody, and that's been a massive effort on their end, and we have to say a very big thank you to him and all those behind the scenes. But Nelson, one of the demands, the number one demand, was the release of all arrested protesters. As of this morning, just going through social media, you're seeing that people and those who are working with this have said they still have people missing, that they don't know where they are. So what's the status on the release of detained prisoners, rather protesters? And then, of course, as Choma said, what's the legality around the state investigative judicial panels? Because a lot of concerns were raised with what Governor Wike said. So how are we intending to tackle that? Nelson, we can't hear you. Can you please check your audio?
For now.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, okay, so great. So I think we need to quickly double back to what happened during the Kaduna Shiites incident, where the Kaduna government set up the panel of inquiries to investigate the incident that happened. And what we noticed then was that despite the nice recommendations, nothing was implemented. Now, the same military that allegedly committed those violations are also part of the COR for this panel of inquiry. So if nothing came out of Kaduna, 300 people were murdered. Lekki, by the statistics, they are still less than 50. So what do we want to see? You know, the presidency is also yet to give a lot of powers behind these panels of inquiry. They are yet to give a lot of energy and a lot of support. I feel that the likes of Brotai should be on an upseat by now. They should be answering questions. They should be able to fish out people who have been alleged to have had one connection or the other with that incident that happened in Lekki. These people should have been identified, they should have been questioned, probably they should have been court-martialed or something. But nothing like that is happening because the regular soldier out there is not subject to the laws that we have. They are subject to the martial laws. And these martial laws also provide for violations which have been committed or allegedly committed in the Lekki massacre. So there should have been a court-martial proceedings right now. So we don't see that concrete step, right now. And to ask about the question whether all protesters have been released, as of yesterday I was in communication with one of my colleagues in Abuja, and at FCID in Abuja, protesters are still in detention. Many protesters, particularly were involved in one of the cases of a young guy that was moved from Ekiti and was sent to Abuja, and they are in custody for over a week. And these people are kept holding him without him being charged to court. We wanted to file for bail. They kept posting us that they were going to grant him bail, but nothing has actually concretely been established against this guy. In fact, there are videos of this guy online telling people to be peaceful, don't engage with the violent protesters. But there are so many evidence to that effect. But they have willfully refused, to take the concrete steps in ensuring justice is served to some of these. We've also seen some of the videos that is going around of people living different names. And I think mass incarceration is the wrong way to go. The normal procedure for any form of arrest to be commenced is, number one, investigation. You have to first investigate whether these people are culpable. Second thing, once you investigate, you now arrest and prosecute. Over 500 people have been detained in Lagos. There has not been concrete evidence that have showed forth that they were culpable. Were they caught, in the process of setting fires on buildings or things like that?
can you link them directly to the crimes that have been alleged that they've been alleged of? None of these are categorically stated, but people have just been packed, dumped, arraigned under arson and murder trial in court, and they December 7th. When even the law says you shouldn't be remanded more than 14 days. The Administration of Criminal Justice Law specifically provides for that. You know, it is high time that the judiciary has to stand to their pride of place, you know, presently in Nigeria. Section 34 the ACJ, you know, provides that magistrates should even visit police stations and hold police stations to account when people are held up and not tried properly within the court. People have been there in police stations, held up and not been charged to court, and unfortunately, when they even get to court, we see that they give a long adjournment, which shouldn't be.
So Nelson, you're going into a part of this conversation that some have started to focus on, and that is unfortunately the complicity of the Nigerian judiciary in some of the behavior of the Nigerian police, especially as you talk about awaiting trial. We know that the majority of prisoners in Nigerian prisons are not convicts. They're actually Nigerians who have been detained and have been awaiting trial, and we're talking about years for some people. So that's another part of the conversation. Now, I want to bring Bulama into this. Your work in extremism with extremist groups has shown you a lot of things, and I know a lot of people have pointed to what happened in the aftermath of the extrajudicial killing of Mohammed Yusuf, the founder of Boko Haram, and the disaffection and the anger and frustration with the Nigerian government as well as the police because of that. But there are more differences than similarities in this situation. But looking at where we are right now and the dissatisfaction that many Nigerian youth have with the Nigerian state, where do you think we could be headed? Because I think it's necessary to sound a note of warning to the government as to how their lack of action, and in some cases, many would say irresponsibility, is pushing Nigeria and Nigerians to a point of no return.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. Very interesting conversation and a great question here. I think the way to conceptualize this is not just Boko Haram, but also other youth movements we have seen in Nigeria. And if you go memory lane, you could argue that there have been 4 different youth movements in Nigeria, 3 of them violent, and we now have the NSAS movement, which is the non-violent youth movement, composed of, if you like, liberal, progressive Nigerians wanting to do things according to law. But before the NSAS movement, you had the Boko Haram. Boko Haram has always been radical, and I want to be clear about that. It has always been a radical extremist group, but it wasn't violent initially, and it was because of the frustration with government, but especially extrajudicial killings, arrests, and human rights violations by the police that kept pushing Boko Haram towards the radicalization ladder, and at the end of the day, they turned violent. And even the month before they turned violent in July of 2009, in June, 19 of their members were shot by the Nigeria police force. And that was the turning point for them. That was when their leader delivered the address that became their declaration of war, and then ultimately they attacked police stations and the war started. But Boko Haram is one. For me, the dynamic going on in the Northwest is also another youth movement, because the bandits, the criminal gangs, the armed robbers we were talking about are all youth. And I think Paz was right when he was talking about hoodlums, but it's not only hoodlums. The criminals in the Northwest, most of whom are young people, also is another form of youth movement, but it's a violent youth movement that are frustrated with the Nigerian situation. Some of them aren't criminal initially, but they became frustrated with the justice system because their own families were killed by vigilantes and all that in allegations of crimes. And so they started this movement and see what it has turned into in the Northwest. And the final movement I would mention is the IPOP guys, which is another youth movement that was peaceful. It has started becoming violent, we know. And it's because of the frustration. And now we have the NSAS movement. Now, the point is that, as many speakers have mentioned, the NSAS movement is beyond just police brutality. Police brutality is what triggered us this time around, but this is an outcry against the injustices, violations, the socio-economic pains in the country, and we have got to move on. Now, the next point I want to make is around the issue of judicial commissions of inquiry. Because for me, the state forming judicial commission of inquiry is a deliberate attempt to fragment the process so that we cannot track it. You now would be tracking 37 different judicial commissions of inquiry, 36 states, and then the federal capital. What I think should have happened should be a single judicial commission of inquiry set up by the federal government. But the presidency argues that it is incidents taking place in states, and therefore it is states that have jurisdiction. You don't just look at the incidents. The police is federally appointed, they are federally controlled and disciplined, and they are related to these officers. Number two, they are human rights allegations. Human rights violation allegations. Now, if they are human rights violations, they are violations against the federal government. And therefore, it is the federal government. If you can't do it at the presidency, the National Human Rights Commission is there. You set it up under the National Human Rights Commission, it would be easier for us to track, for the media to track, it's easier for the international community to track, but they don't want us to track. They want this momentum to fade, and that's why they said stay. And so some states have now formed, some haven't. We only hear about Lagos. All the news we hear about the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, even in the states that have been formed, only Lagos is being in the news. Why? Because we cannot track 37 different processes going on at the same time. I think we should, the federal government set up a Judicial Commission of Inquiry that is based in Abuja. If you tell us it's unconstitutional, why was the Oputa panel set up? Why? Where did they get the legal authority? Now, finally,
very quickly.
Yeah, I wanted to make this final point about the Zaria Judicial Commission of Inquiry against the massacre on the massacre in Zaria. Now, 90% of the recommendations of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry were to the federal government, but the commission itself was set up by the Kaduna State government, and because it was by the state, the military refused to cooperate. These are the 347 dead bodies that were found were only found because the committee pressed on, and not because the military provided. They refused to cooperate with the university. It was set up by the state. I think we need a federal judicial inquiry, not the state.
Okay, thank you very much. And there are some questions in regards to what happened with the